Simple Studies, and I'm sharing today a peek at what we did and are wrapping up for term 3 this year, as well as our curriculum choices for 2025-26 school year. We moved to Florida back in November and we are still adjusting, and in fact we are moving again to a different part of Florida. So there's a lot going on, and it's exciting, but it's also been very, there's a lot that we've had to navigate in the past 6 months and moving forward in the next 6 months. So that being said, I do have still kind of, she went through about 4th, 5th grade this year, and she's moving into 6th grade for next year. That being said, let me just kind of go over what we've done in term 3 and really enjoyed. Now I want to preface this with, we started the year with alveary, and you're gonna hear the AC kick on because it's like in the 80s every day here. It's loud, but that's okay. So anyway, we started the year with alveary and we've really enjoyed using the alveary. For several years we used the CMEC. Moving forward, we are changing things a little bit again, back to some of the basics of AO, which is Ambleside Online. So when I share more about next year, you're going to hear a little bit more about AO. And that being said, we have backed out of, we do a little morning devotional, but other than that, we literally read straight from the Bible. I'm actually reading through Ecclesiastes with the kids since our oldest is 15-year-old and he is with us for the summer now. That being said, I want to give you guys, like, I don't know, I just want to share the fruit of the Charlotte Mason type homeschool. We've been doing it for over 11 years now, and our son for his high school years decided to join a sports academy. But you always wonder what that's going to look like when they've been homeschooling for over 10 years of their lives. Well, he ended up with high honors, and I just want to share that from my heart, not to be boastful or prideful, but the fact that really this type of homeschool where you cherish the outdoors, amazing literature, forming habits, character, virtue, just all these things really do build each year slowly and progressively, and not rushing the maths, not rushing the literature or the writing and the reading, but really focusing on your relationship with your children. It really does bear fruit in the later years, and I just want to encourage you moms who may just be starting out with this journey that it pays off, and these kids really do thrive in those older teen years, at least so far that we've seen and we are blessed to see. Okay, so back to our wrapping up our term 3. We have been just reading straight through the Bible, and I'm very grateful for that. Other than that, we do a little bit of poetry each day, or we wrapped up this book. And again, this was a choice from the alveary, and we are very grateful for all their resources that we utilized this year. My daughter enjoyed a little co-op here in Florida that did, for this last term, oceanography, diving deep into that, as well as Italian. So she has her little Italian book, and she also took private lessons to do that, and she just really flew into enjoying a foreign language. And then we picked up Latin because she really wants to learn Latin and Spanish now that she's been exposed to Italian. For history, we finished up our American Our Stories. This is from Simply Charlotte Mason, and she read through the story of David Livingstone. A lot of the books that I share are actually books that our son read around the same age. Our read alouds, and we've been doing the Greek myths, and we're almost done with this. I meant to read that to her several years ago, and I just didn't get to it. So I brought all my my nature journaling stuff. So she will keep these in her backpack. It's like, oh my goodness, all these field guides that, with Simple Studies, we utilize these a lot. But she keeps these heavy little field guides in her backpack, and we'll be on the road and she'll just see something and want to try to identify it, and then she'll pull out her field journal and be like, oh my gosh, that was a cattle egret, not a snowy egret. Anyway, for geography, this term, we wrapped up Fortitude. That was earlier this winter though. I just wanted to point that out. I read through all of the Hauling Sea Haulings except Seabird and this one. We've done Tree in the Trail. We did what's the canoe one? Why am I not thinking of the canoe one? You guys know what I'm talking about. And then we're finishing this one for this term. Paddle to the Sea, that one. This, and Hauling also has like the Book of Indians, if I'm not mistaken. We did read through that several years ago with my oldest. And then for writing, we are doing just straight up writing and rhetoric. We really enjoy these. These are timeless, useful for us, and they've worked really well for our family. And again, they worked really well for our teen, and our teen loved those. For our read alouds this term, let me start with, we finished this. It was okay. I was really excited about it. It's been promoted and recommended by other Christian homeschoolers, and it was okay. We're not going to finish it. And then we've been reading this one, which is a little juvenile in my opinion, but then my daughter picked up The Secret Language of Birds to read on her own because it's by the same author, and she just enjoys animals and science. Anne of Green Gables, and we are almost done with Wind in the Willows. Oh my gosh, it's so good, so good. I never read these when I was younger. I was not exposed to quality literature as an elementary student, so I'm very grateful for that opportunity. Last but not least, she wanted to do, calligraphy and writing, copy work. We put off Shakespeare and Plutarch. We've done folk songs. So I say we put off Plutarch and Shakespeare in term 3 because of our move, and it's just a lot, and because we joined a new community, we were trying to get established here. Hopefully that's helpful for kind of a peek at what we did for term 3. Really, we are still going to be reading through the summer quality literature that I would really love for my daughter to be exposed to. We're doing some Scholé online classes with a Green Ember series book club for our daughter. Our son is reading through, well actually let me get that real quick. Okay, I got the book. So he's reading through Out of the Silent Planet and meeting with a Scholé teacher for that, and then also Screwtape Letters, which I don't have a copy right here. And he is meeting one-on-one with a tutor back in the state we used to live in. He's meeting with him online, and then he has an internship at a baseball training facility in Georgia. So we're traveling all over this summer and heading back to Washington to see family in Idaho and Oregon. We're gonna be all over the place. Okay, so next up, I'm gonna transition into what we're doing for the 2025-26 year. First of all, I want to say that I received this amazing homeschool planner from my good friend Whitney with Brighter Day Press, and it's so gorgeous. It was in a simplified year bundle, and so was my Legendary Creatures Simple Study. And if you didn't receive that or download a simplified year, I will include the link for my Legendary Creatures brand new simple study below in case you want to check that out. Okay, so as I said, we are moving into more of the back to the basics with Ambleside Online. One thing I didn't talk about that we did use in term 3 was our math. We are still working through that. I still have not decided if we are using the arithmetic from Simply Charlotte Mason, or if we are still going to continue with Math with Confidence, which we have dabbled in, or Saxon. There are also some other options out there. So I've not decided what we're doing with those yet. We're kind of bouncing around because we are focusing a little bit more on other things this year. Moving forward, one thing I did, the reason it took me so long to get this video out there as well is because I was doing a ton of research this spring. Firstly, do we want to do CMEC? Do we want to do Alviary? Which I actually did sign up for the Alviary, and I looked at all the books, and then I really, prayed about it and started looking back at AO, because I have always pulled from Ambleside Online for our children and the books that we read, and generally speaking, they are always woven into our lessons no matter what. And then I thought, no, I would like to go back to that basic foundation of a Charlotte Mason education. That being said, there was something that recently came out, and many of you probably know what it is, but it takes a turn, and it's brand new and shiny, and I commend this person for putting it out there. But she put out a curriculum guide, and it's super huge, and it's very expensive, and it's based on the 1,000 Good Books by John Sr. Now, John Sr. Published this, I believe, in the 80s, and it's a list of books, you can kind of see this, that instead of just reading this quality literature, really is talking about the foundational idea that all subjects shouldn't be separated out. They really are all in one. And I've always believed that, so I didn't feel like I needed to jump into that type of curriculum, even though it's very shiny and looks great for years 1 through 7. However, we're already kind of past that point. Anyway, that being said, I spoke with the curriculum person. She seems like a brilliant person, very sweet, very kind, but again, her oldest are younger than mine. So I wasn't ready to leap onto that curriculum and look at all those book lists, because she's going off of basically this. And that's free. I do, again, believe everything from CMUC to AO, which AO is free. You can use AO. Okay, sorry, this is a long rant to basically say that we are going back to the basics of knowledge and Ambleside Online, and instead of dabbling in a bunch of different like unit studies anyway, we're sticking with Ambleside Online because it's free and it's amazing and it is time tested. I think the biggest thing is that our son has shown the fruit of utilizing that over the years, or at least quality Charlotte Mason literature, whether you're using the CMEC or you're using the Alvieri. Okay, so that being said, I will start with, we're reading through the Bible. That was really long, I'm so sorry, but I just have to explain myself. And then you have, my son is also breaking down boxes in the garage, which if you hear pounding, that is what that is. Okay, so this is just a PDF of all the riches that you're doing for the year. So you have hymns, folk songs, and handicrafts. And then you have your nature study. A reptile will be very easy for us. You have your composers, Plutarch, which I haven't decided if I'm going to do that, or I do have the Plutarch Project here by Ann White, which this one I think was the one recommended for this year. And then Shakespeare. We actually joined an AO discussion group for Shakespeare for 6th grade-ish, so we will be enjoying that. When you are on AO and you can download the PDF or the Excel form or spreadsheet of your plans for each year, again, we're kind of in the middle of the 5th, 6th grade year, so I wanted to rope in some of the 5th, year 5 books with year 6. So you will see that I have, well, you won't, but I do. I swapped out a few of the year 6 with some year 5 books that we have not covered yet. For the most part, we have read, or she has heard a lot of the books that were years 2 through 4, even though we weren't solidly going with AO. And then I found some copy work that someone puts on the forum. If you just, they have a forum, so if you go there and download the copies of that. And then same with book lists, right? So if you want to go through and make sure that you're at least, the goal is not to read all the books. I just hope that I make that clear. The goal is not to read all the books, but it is to touch on a lot of those and try your best to get the main ones in. Again, Bible, and then Saints and Heroes, which I will show you in a minute, but we will start like term 1 with Lincoln's World. I'm not going to go into each term breakdown. I'm just going to give you kind of an overview of a lot of the books that we'll be choosing from and reading from this year. Selections from The Story of Mankind, as well as later in the year, we're going to be moving into The Story of Greeks and The Story of Romans. So we also have This Country of Ours, which I used with my oldest, but I haven't decided if I'm going to be weaving that in or not, even though it is on the schedule. That's a lot of history, because we also have biographies of history. So some of those biographies, I have to keep getting up and down because I'm trying to get stacks of books to show you guys. Again, our oldest read some of these, not all of them. So one of his favorites was this. I don't know if I'll have her read it. It's not really on the schedule, but Abigail Adams is, and Saints and Heroes is. And then Poor Richard was actually an Alvieri choice, I believe, but they do both recommend Answering the Cry for Freedom. So we will be weaving those in. Some of the other ones that I will be weaving in through the year for free reads, not really free reads, scheduled biographies. Franz Schubert, which our son read as well, A Young Patriot. Alexander Humboldt, this is an Alvieri choice. So if you are thinking of AO versus Alvieri, to me it didn't hurt. I will always invest in our children's education. So I did purchase that so that I could look through and see if any of those lesson plans work. And then another one I chose because our history is in Denmark. I never heard of this book until recently, Sticks Across the Chimney, so I might have her read this in her free time as well. Speaking of scheduling, she is old enough now to start her own student planner, so she'll be doing that as well. Now, if this seems like a lot of books, I still have more to go through. Just keep in mind that you don't have to read a book all the way through to get the benefits from it. You can pick and choose, you can read selections. While it's helpful to read all the way through, like for example, Marvels, I believe my son, I think he read all through this one, but not the Orient. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Don't stress about finishing something at the end of a term. Just expose your children to good books. So we'll be reading that, possibly Seabird. She will be, for nature lore, be reading School of the Woods. For science biographies, I believe at first we're reading, and these are on the AO schedules, this one. She didn't read this last year, so she'll read this one. Our oldest loved this one. And then I will be reading Archimedes and the Door of Science, not to Science. And then for some selections in science, I haven't decided if I will be doing the elements and moving into chemistry, which is recommended for the year 6, but there are selections from this in AO that I will be following along with. A couple things that I did receive from the Alvieri when I purchased their entire setup for the next year was the art of construction, and with handcrafts, I'm not the best at handcrafts, I will admit that. Getting started in leather crafting was one of them. For writing, I'm just going to continue with this. I'm going to go through book 4. Hopefully we get to book 5 by the end of the year. The lessons, they're not that many, and they sometimes will take a couple days to get through an entire lesson. I did pick this up. I've been flipping through it. I haven't decided if I'm going to use it yet, but this one is for those reluctant writers. I do think it's more important that they think about the writing and that they are exposed to good literature before they are forced to sit down pen to paper and just told how to write. That has been my belief. I know not everybody instructs their children that way, but that's okay. That's totally fine. Just because we do it this way doesn't mean everybody has to. Last but not least, I believe, just our literature selections. So one thing with AO this year is, if you have read the Pedre column, I'll try to put screenshots of books up here if I don't have them. If you have read those, like we read The Children's Homer, The Children of Odin, she has been exposed to all of those. So it's kind of a back and forth. Do you go into the Age of Fable, which actually AO took down just recently. They said not to read this, but to do instead something like Black Ships before Troy. But we've already kind of been through these. So my thought around the Odyssey and the Iliad are, do I go back to more of these, even though we did those other ones, or do we just jump into the full Homer? And everybody's saying, just jump into full Homer. We'll see. We'll see. All right, so for more literature or free lit reads, I'm not going to put everything up here, but several we will be tackling together would be The Hobbit. I'll be reading that aloud. Next, actually, we might start this summer. Puck of Pook's Hill by Rudyard Kipling. Animal Farm. Chronicles of Narnia. She'll be reading through that entire series at some point over the next year or two, hopefully. And then just a few more, like Call of the Wild, she can read on her own, or Number the Stars. But it's really fun because you just kind of gather these really essential good books, and it's okay to be a little spontaneous as long as you're choosing from that feast and those feasts of ideas, at least in my opinion. Okay, well, I hope this is helpful. I'm sorry it went so long. Thank you for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions. All right, I hope you have a great summer. Bye.